Welcome to That's Based. Happy Saturday. It's the big show. I'm your host, as always, Caleb Salvatore, reporting from somewhere underground. We're laughing our way through the end of days, and we're brought to you by our friends over at Outlaw Streamers, along with our other friends over at Blood of Tyrants Wines. Drink bloodofTyrants.com with the promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, to save 10% off your order. At the checkout, they have red and white wine along with the Liquid Freedom energy drink. Support the brands that hold similar values to us. Drink bloodofTyrants.com, promo code BASED, B-A-S-E-D, like the title of the show, will save you 10% off your order at the checkout. Stockholm Mia, the red face of white supremacy's here with us per the usual here on this fine Saturday morning. How is it going today? How you doing?
Good.
She's doing phenomenal. Phenomenal. She's ready to roll. We got a whole show for you today. A whole show here on this Saturday. Usually we only give you a half show. We got a whole show for you. So no, we give you more than enough. We gave you way too much of a show a couple weeks ago. But we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about this week. We're going over, it's officially been 100 days of Trump. We're going over that. We're going to talk about one of Giuffre Epstein's victims, Canadian elections. We've got some judges going to jail. We have got a ban, or not a ban, some new laws in the state of Florida surrounding Mia's favorite breed of dog. We've got Amazon added an interesting pricing point. Michelle Obama says the quiet part out loud. An update to the Carmelo Anthony case. And Bill Belichick. Oh, my God. Pray for Bill Belichick. If seriously, you're going to want to after we get done talking about what old Bill's been up to here on this show. It's not a good situation. We'll put it that way. But before we get into any of that, before we even get into the current state of the left, we have a very sad announcement to make. George Santos was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for his alleged wire fraud. And yes, so George Santos could be doing hard time. So do you think George Santos is going to be a prison bottom? What do you think, Mia? What's George going to do up in prison? You think he'll be running the show, or do you think he'll join like a gang?
He'll accidentally join the white supremacist gang, but not mean to. He'll do it accidentally.
Yeah, it'd be like Michael Scott goes to prison or something. Do you think he'll run into Prison Mike while he's there?
No, he's not at Azkaban.
Oh, that's with the Dementors that were flying around. That was the worst part of prison, in case you guys didn't know, was the Dementors. I heard prison's great. Prison, I have to ask some people how it is pretty soon here. But you knew I was going to say something. Okay, but we got it. Let's hop into current state of the left before we jump into our lead topic here.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
All right, this week for current state of the left, it's time to play everyone's favorite game. Take us away with the theme song. It's time for What Liberal Most Belongs in a Mental Institution. You didn't hit the theme song. The Family Feud one that we play every time. Better late than never. Which liberal most belongs in a mental institution? Now, that's always a rhetorical question, right? Because as we know, all liberals belong in mental institutions. But the rule is as follows. Just like with everything else, there's always someone who belongs in a mental institution more than the others. The first contestant here, it's actually contestants, is a whole bunch of Starbucks employees who decided to unionize and hold a team meeting about Starbucks' new dress code policy. Go ahead, check this out.
Thing that Starbucks loves to do is allow partners to be themselves, or whatever that PR that they want to push. I don't understand how that's in good faith of letting us express ourselves. I don't understand how that's supposed to embody craft and culture and bring us back to that coffee house kind of vibe that Starbucks is asking for, because for some reason you all can't understand how to schedule more people in a zone. You can't understand that people are taking LOA and that you can't understand that it's not appropriate to tell someone that they are okay, that they should be doing the work of 4 people. That's disrespectful. I'm sorry. How often do I see you actually on the floor and actually helping instead of going against things that help us? When your partners are saying, I need you, I need help. Sorry, we're busy. I'm doing admin. Sorry.
This is not a legal action that Starbucks is taking by unilaterally deciding what the dress code is going to be, and then creating
fucking idiot.
a feedback session where the dress code is already created, and we're just expected to let off some steam and still accept it, lying down.
This isn't a
So
feedback.
we're
That's
in good faith that any of these partners feel manipulated by all of you all who are also continuing to push this agenda on us. And that's all I really have to say.
I love every time we see a video of a Starbucks employee describing their job. Don't you love how they make it sound like they're in a trench in World War I? I mean, they really do. They make it seem like the Frappuccino they make is the equivalent of taking an artillery shell to the leg. It's serious. I'm all alone and there's 3 customers in line and the coffee. I made coffee before the show. It took me 5 minutes. I only cried 3 times in the process of making that coffee. Now, granted, that was only for me, so that might be, I guess if you've got a couple other people in line, maybe it's a little bit different. I love that idiot that said, so here's what Starbucks is doing. This is the update to the policy. I got a screenshot of it right here. It says, starting May 12th, we're evolving our dress code in all stores to focus on simplified color options that allow our iconic green apron to shine and create a sense of familiarity for our customers, no matter which store they visit across North America. The more defined color palette includes any solid black short and long sleeve crew neck, collared, or button up shirts, and any shade of khaki, black, or blue denim bottoms. Now, or you can wear the branded t-shirts. Now, previously, they've been allowed to wear whatever the fuck they want. I love how they're acting like this is oppression. Like Starbucks is the first company to come up with a uniform for these people. Like literally every other company in the world or in the country is going to require you to have some type of dress code. Starbucks is catching up. This is the thing about this. All I hear about is what a horrible company Starbucks is and how they work these people to the bone like they're coal miners or something in the 1800s. Yet they all continue to get jobs there. They're the #1 employer of all the wokes in the country. Why do you guys keep going there if it's so horrible? Why don't you go somewhere where that's all they employ? And it's hilarious because they continuously cave to these people's demands over and over and over and over again. Yet these people are still angry. And now Starbucks is finally like, you know what, we're done. We can't keep you happy no matter what we do. So we're just going to do things our way. And if you leave, you leave. But none of them will leave because they know at the bottom of they know in the back of their minds that their job at Starbucks is not actually that hard. Now, I've never worked at a Starbucks before, but as someone who gets his coffee from Starbucks semi-frequently and refuses to tip each time, I can assure you that the work that I witnessed taking place at that Starbucks that I'm not tipping for is far from strenuous. Far from difficult. So I don't know where they get their rocks off. Have you ever been at a Starbucks, Mia? Seen an employee? Because you go more than I do. I actually don't get Starbucks that often. I try to shop local for my coffee. I don't really get coffee anymore because it's like when I go out, because I'm not paying $7 for a latte. It's insane. But Mia, when you go to Starbucks, if you go more than I do, have you ever been there and seen an employee and been like, man, I'm really glad I'm not that guy or that they, them?
No, I don't go in. I either go through the drive-thru or go to Target, Starbucks.
But when you've been at the Target one, have you ever seen them visibly distressed and it seemed like it was some miserable job they were doing?
I mean, yeah, I guess. They don't really...
No more than any other customer service
no more.
role.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean...
They're actually, honestly, this is going kind of against your narrative, but the ones that
Well, we don't
Target-
allow that here.
The ones at Target are always really nice.
Oh, I don't have a problem with them. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're nice. They're
No,
friendly.
but I mean, it's just the one at Target that we go to. Other ones, like, there's some weird people, but the one in Target, they're really nice.
There is a they them at Target.
I haven't seen them lately.
Maybe I got her to quit with my relentless bullying. Maybe I got her to quit because I would always go in there, and whenever I got her, I'd be like, "Thank you, ma'am," and I would just make it a point. And she had her pronouns like she had some weird fake made up name that she probably got out of a video game across her name tag. But I would always make it a point to call her she. And maybe I got her to quit. Who knows? All right, let's hop into the next one here. We've got the mayor of Minneapolis. Is, you know, a lot of mayors, especially nowadays, it's kind of trendy to be tough on crime. You saw some folks like Gene Stothert back in 2020 maybe trend a little bit away from that when it wasn't so popular. Now all of a sudden that Law and Order is popular again, they're trending back toward, hey, we're actually going to do something about crime in this city. But not Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis. Here's what he had to say.
So Donald Trump just passed a few new executive orders, most notably that would require our police to work with the feds around ICE-related, immigration-related law enforcement. First, it's against the law, against state of Minnesota and municipal law, but perhaps even more importantly, it just doesn't make any sense for safety. I don't want our cops spending tons of time hunting down an undocumented immigrant that is otherwise not causing any trouble. I want them focused on stopping homicides from taking place and carjackings. I want them arresting violent offenders. Tell me this, what's more dangerous? Who's more dangerous? The guy that's murdering people, the person that's doing carjackings, the one that's committing a whole bunch of fraud, or the guy that happens to be from Ecuador who drops his kids off at daycare and goes into work a very long day and is a member of our community, hasn't otherwise done anything. I'm going with the murderer. The murderer is the more dangerous one. That's where our cops should focus their time.
Plot twist, it's the same guy that he was talking about there. Now, first off, ICE, as we know, and we've detailed on this show quite often, ICE is only going after violent criminals and people who are already scheduled to be deported. So, yes, I agree. The police should be prioritizing the murderers rather than some guy that just snuck across the border. They should leave that up to ICE. But that's not what the executive order said, and he knows that. The executive order said that that the local police departments need to assist ICE in taking out individuals that are a threat to the community. So if he's going to say we're not going to help ICE go in and grab these rapists and pedophiles and murderers and fentanyl dealers, then he's an active threat to his community. He's putting politics above his own people. These people are so sick. Speaking of sick people, this guy is I don't want to call, are they African nationalists? I don't know what the hell you call these people. But he's a black supremacist is what we're going to call him. And he's got some opinions on the white man, us white honky crackers over here. This is what he had to say.
One way black people achieve true liberation, that's by taking it in blood. There has to be blood all over the floor. There has to be bodies on the floor. There has to be people screaming and crying. That is the reality. And this is what history shows me. No amount of begging, no amount of complaining, no amount of protesting, nada is going to get you your liberation until you take it with blood. You see? So this is why I sit back and I don't play along with any of these black people talking about it's a spiritual war, this, that, because when those cops are going into our neighborhoods and shooting our babies, that's a physical thing. You see, y'all so worried about the spiritual world, and all, but you're not worrying about the world that's right in your face. When we're getting thrown in prison, that's a physical thing, right? Address the physical. You see, this is why I say don't hit my phone until y'all ready to do what y'all know we got to do. When y'all ready to go outside and hunt them white boys, hunt them cops, go to that white boy's neighborhood and fuck his shit up. When y'all ready to do what y'all know we got to do, hit me. But until then, I'm not playing around with y'all because it's all of these excuses for why we don't want to do it. Why? Many of us are scared. You know what I mean? Many of us are complacent in our oppression. You know, many of us don't want to burn the relationships we have with white people, all of these things. So I'm going to sit back and do my thing. When y'all ready to go outside and take blood, hit me anytime. But you see, a lot of us are not ready to do that. But I'm trying to tell y'all, there is no freedom. There is no liberation for our people until there's blood on that floor, on that battlefield. And that's the truth we don't want to admit.
Yeah, that's the truth you don't want to admit. But did you know, Mia, that most black people, according to this guy, most black people don't want to go out and just kill white people for no reason other than the fact they're white, and that's why they'll never have true freedom. Now, what is true freedom? Who knows? I wish that guy would define what true freedom is. I wish he would tell me what rights I have that he does not, explicitly written into law, not his opinion and interpretation of them. I wish I would know, or I wish he could tell me that. And I wish he could tell me how killing me and people who look like me would somehow bring him more rights than he already has. What do you think true freedom is, Mia? What do you think that guy, when he says they want true freedom, what do you think he's talking about? Like the right to throw a fit in a Walmart and not get asked to leave? What's true freedom here that we're talking about?
That's exactly it.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Like lunatics. Anyone who talks like, now, if a white guy went on and said that and said, the blacks or the Jews or whoever are oppressing us and we got to go spill blood, he would be mocked repeatedly and deservedly so and pointed out for the lunatic that he was. But by the left and the right, because the right wouldn't put up, we actually police our own. We wouldn't put up with that crap. But the left is just going to turn a blind eye to that guy because they know at the end of the day that him and people who think like him, the radicals, are the ones that they need to actually carry out what they want. Because the folks pulling the strings in the Democrat Party and the modern American left, while they may try to parade around as more moderate, make no mistake, people like him, people like AOC, these communist far-left lunatics, they're the end game for their ideology. They always have been, always will be. They just try to masquerade around as moderates. No, I'm not saying that every Democrat or liberal in the country is as extreme as that guy or wants the things he wants. No, but the ones that are pulling the strings, that's the type of chaos they want so that they can usher in their cultural revolution. Then what happens throughout history, and it happened in Maoist China, and we've covered it fairly in depth on this show. But what happens when those people, the radicals, go around and they shake things up and they're going around killing people because based on how they look or how much money they make or because they're involved in religious practices? When the new government takes over, the new people in power, they come in and they say, hey, look at these lunatics, these radicals. They're the ones that are, we need to put them down immediately. We got to declare martial law. We got to bring the military in. And that's how they take over. They turn the country into an authoritarian state and they never hand that power back. And the people like him that are talking all that shit and think they're fighting for some type of change, time and time again throughout history, when they are only as good to the communists as long as they're someone they can use, as long as they're a pawn in their game. The moment they become politically expendable or inconvenient to them, or it becomes more of an advantage to make them public enemy number one, the communists will put them down like the stray dogs they are in the streets. That's how it happens every time. So now it's time for the million-dollar question. Of the three videos, Mia, which liberal most belongs in a mental institution? Which one do you think? Do you think we've got Malcolm X Jr. here, the mayor of Minneapolis, or the Starbucks baristas who are just shell-shocked, 1,000-mile stare right now?
I go Starbucks baristas.
You think they deserve it more than the guy that wants to kill all white people? That's like... I think we got to go with the last guy. I don't know how a genocidal rant beats out some... I mean, don't get me wrong. It's ridiculous to cry about the dress code. But when you're on here talking about genocide, I think you might take the cake. That might be I think you win there. That guy wins it out. All right. That has been our intro segment. Stay tuned. We're going to be going over the the first 100 days of President Trump, and we're going to be back in like 2 seconds. Do not go anywhere, or I'll jump through the computer and fucking stab you. All right, and we're back, and we're brought to you by Tactilian, TACTILIAN.com. The promo code BASED is going to save you 15% off your order at the checkout on gifts for the patriot in your life. What better way to celebrate the greatest country in the world by then saving a little bit of money, and in the process helping build homes for wounded veterans. That's right, a portion of the proceeds goes to help build homes for wounded veterans. There's home and office decor, accessories for your vehicle, clothing for you, for your dog. Not your cat, because cats are from hell, and we don't support them. And maybe they do have cat clothing and cat accessories on there, but the promo code won't work if you use it, because I hate cats. I'm kidding. I do hate cats. I don't know if they have cat stuff on there, the promo code will work. Okay. Don't be stupid because I pissed off. You know what I was like? You want to hear, like, people want to know why I am the way I am today. Mia, have I told you this story? When I was in 6th grade, I had a lady who was in her 50s pull a knife on me because I said I didn't like cats. Have I ever told you this story? No? So we were at this block party when I was 11, maybe 12 years old, and it wasn't even a block party. What would happen is everyone in my neighborhood, they were too broke to go to the bar, so they would just pull out lawn chairs in in someone's driveway. They'd pick a driveway, they'd sit around and have bonfire. You know, when neighbors talk to each other, what a hell of a concept, right? So they would do that, and they'd just sit around and drink until the wee hours of the morning. It was cool, and the kids would just screw around up there. But I remember I was sitting down, and I made a comment that I didn't like cats, and this lady was wasted, the owner of the home. She goes, "What do you mean you don't like cats?" I'm like, just not a fan. I'm a dog person. And she goes, "What did my cat do to you?" I went, "Nothing. I've never met your cat." And she goes, "Are you fucking..." She slams her hand on the ground. She walks back into the garage, and she just grabs a big old chef's knife, and she comes walking out, pointing it at me, and goes, "What the fuck did my cat do to you?" And she's waving a knife around at a 12-year-old because I said I didn't like cats. And me, being the asshole that I was, even at 12 years old, I was this way. Didn't even bat an eye. I've got this drunk lunatic waving a knife in my face. I go, "Hold on. I didn't say I didn't like your cat. I said I don't like all cats." So then she blows up, and the husband's like separating her, getting her to go inside, trying to get her to go drink some water and chill out a little bit. But nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever came of it. And let me tell you this, Mia. If one of our neighbors ever pulls a knife on our children because they don't like their particular pet, I'm going to shoot them in their driveway right there. Are you okay with that? I'm probably going to jail. That person's going to the cemetery, and our kid's going to therapy for the rest of their lives. Like that's how it's going to play out if that ever happens to me. Okay, so that's a little fun story time, and I think it helps you guys get to know me. That's how I grew up. All right, let's talk about the first 100 days of Donald Trump. Will you take us down to the lead topic real quick? No, you're fine. So this is a representative, Shri Thanander. I don't know how the hell to pronounce this guy's name. We're not going to play the full video, but he announced on television the other day that he is filing articles of impeachment against Donald Trump. Go ahead and check this weirdo out here.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous...
Why is the camera just slowly zooming into his head?
That's why today I introduced a resolution.
Like pretty soon we're going to get the mole, like a close-up of the mole on his cheek.
Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment. Article 1.
Deep breath.
Obstruction of justice and abuse of executive power. From denying due process
that's enough.
to unlawful...
He needs to go to jail for abuse of the spices in curry. Oh, my God. That's so...
He needs to get his fake teeth fixed. They were like the bottom ones, they were like going all over the place.
How did that guy is an elected representative. I want to see the guy that he beat. What is the guy that he beat like? That guy must just be a bumbling moron. What, did he show up to the debates in a wife beater? What the hell? How do you lose to that guy? Let me pull him up. I want to see. Let's pull up. Let's see if I can find on his Wikipedia who he beat here. I want to see. And I'm sorry, you guys aren't going to be able to see it, but I'll get to see it here. United States House of Representatives elections. He beat Mary D. Waters, a member of the Detroit City Council. This is the Democrat primary. And there was no Republican that ran against him. Okay. Well, that guy won. That guy was obviously the most appealing candidate. Now, Shri has a very interesting backstory. His backstory is in medical research. And as we know, medical research is, as asked Dr. Fauci, always done with the utmost, or with the highest ethical standards, right? They never would, maybe breach some moral guidelines when they're conducting medical research. But the guy, I can't get over it. He looks like an even more retarded Elon Musk. That's what he looks like. Like Elon got the worst tan of his life, and somehow it made him not just socially retarded, but also mentally retarded. So this guy, allegedly, I don't know how alleged it is because it sounds to me like he did it, but this guy left when he was running a testing lab in New Jersey. It went out of business, and he abandoned it. And he had 150 dogs in this testing facility that they were doing these medical experiments on. And no, he didn't kill them, don't worry. He just left them there to starve to death. Didn't tell anyone they were there. Just left 150 dogs that he was running experiments on to sit in cages until they starved to death. Now, somebody found them, and they were able to rescue all of them and adopt them, so it was a happy ending. But he owned this laboratory and just decided that, hey, I'm not going to tell anyone these dogs are here. I'll leave them to die and rot, and then it'll be the next guy's problem. Who gives a shit? So this is a real stand-up individual that somehow holds elected office in Michigan. This is what the people of Michigan deem to be their guy. So it's the first 100 days of Trump. They're coming after him, already trying to impeach him. I'm honestly surprised it took this long. Do you think Shree's going to run for president in 4 years, 3 years? I think Shree's our guy. I think that might be the dark. We're talking about who's the Democrats' candidate going to be in 2028. He might be a dark horse. I don't know if he can run because it doesn't sound like he's from here, but he might be the dark horse. Well, Donald Trump went on ABC News to do a recap of his first 100 days, and we're going to play a couple clips in a row here for you. This is the interactions he had. Go ahead and play the first one.
Do you think the reputation of the United States has gone down under your presidency?
No, I think it's gone way up, and I think we're a respected country again. We were laughed at all over the world. We had a president that couldn't walk up a flight of stairs, couldn't walk down a flight of stairs, couldn't walk across a stage without falling. We had a president that was grossly incompetent. You knew it, I knew it, and everybody knew it, but you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst, I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
He cannot resist. He can't stop taking shots at Biden. He can't. Biden's not even a wounded animal. Biden is a dead animal that vultures and buzzards have started to pick at his corpse, and he's still just walking by every chance he gets to kick it. And then the shots at ABC News just speak for themselves there. I mean, you're one of the worst. The man does not give a fuck. And that's what... It's not just fuck you money. That's what having a fuck you personality and fuck you presence does, more importantly. When you can walk into... Listen, he holds all the cards here. He's doing ABC a favor. ABC could run whatever other bullshit show they want and get a tenth of the ratings that they would interviewing him. He knows he holds all the power in this interview. He can say whatever he wants about whoever he wants, whenever he wants to, and there's nothing they can do about it because he's the one that's helping them way more than they're helping him. Donald Trump does not need ABC. Donald Trump can go on any other news network in the world, including this one, Don, if you want to come on. He can go anywhere he wants to in the world. He's on ABC, and he's going to be as disrespectful as he wants to. That's how he does it. Here's another one. Go ahead and play this one.
Murderers, criminals in this country We have to get him out, and we're doing it.
By law.
And you'll pick out one man, but even the man that you picked out, he said he wasn't a member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute
Well, wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles tattooed.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Hey, Terry.
He did not have the
do
letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was photoshopped. So let me
That was photoshopped. Terry, you can't do that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
Right. We'll agree to disagree. I want to move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it was Photoshop? Well,
here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine, sir.
Terry,
I want to get to Ukraine.
No. He had MS as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because
when
it's
he was
fake
photographed
news.
in El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go on. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't
Take a look
there,
at the
but
photograph.
they're there now, right?
No,
but
they're in
now.
your picture.
Terry,
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look at that.
You do such a disservice.
We'll take a look at
Why
that,
don't you
sir.
just say, yes, he does, and, go on to something else?
He just completely controls the course of the interview. There is no way to steer him on. The best one at it, the closest anyone got to keeping him on track was Rogan, and even he wasn't successful. Now, he was also asked about Vladimir Putin and the situation in Russia. Go ahead, check what he had to say.
The fighting. Don't forget.
You think he wants peace? You think Vladimir Putin wants peace?
I think he does, yes. I think he does. I think because
even with the raining missiles
I think he really, his dream was to take over the whole country. I think because of me, he's not going to do that.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. You start telling me that a guy whose hand is covered with a tattoo doesn't have the tattoo.
all right.
I mean, you're being dishonest.
No, I'm not.
Let me
No,
just
I am
tell
not,
you,
sir.
I don't trust a lot of people. But I do think this. I think that let's say he respects me. And I believe because of me, he's not going to take over the whole. But his decision, his choice would be to take over all of Ukraine. Okay. It's a war that never should have happened.
Stays on the tattoo situation. There, we got one more, and they asked him about Pete Hegseth. Go ahead.
A very good defense, hopefully a great defense secretary, but he'll be a very good defense secretary.
You have 100% confidence in
I
Pete
don't have
Hegseth.
100% confidence in anything. Okay? Anything. Do I have 100%? It's a stupid question. Look.
It's a pretty important position.
No. You don't have 100%. Only a liar would say I have 100% confidence. I don't have 100% confidence that we're going to finish this interview.
Was this an interview or was it just Trump talking shit to the guy? He just used it as an opportunity to just tee off on this guy, shot after shot after shot. And this interview was great. He did a town hall on Newsmax, which was a very interesting cast and crew with Donald Trump. I would encourage, not Newsmax, excuse me, News Nation. I would encourage everyone to go watch it. I was watching it before we get the show ready here. It's with Chris Cuomo, Bill O'Reilly, who Mia's dad is a huge fan of, right? Was your dad a Bill O'Reilly fan? Yeah. I bet he was a Bill O'Reilly guy. Back when Bill was on Fox. Before the allegations and whatnot. It had Stephen A. Smith from ESPN, James Carville, the former Democrat strategist, and Republican New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. Very interesting panel. They were all there with Trump on the phone. Now, they did more talking than Trump did, so I'm sure he was probably pretty frustrated by that. But go check it out. I thought it was an interesting discussion, and it was a good mixture of voices for the time we're at here. They had a couple other people called in, like Patrick Bet-David, a couple congressmen. Good discussion there. Not as good as this show, but a good discussion. I think maybe we'll get a panel together. To talk about Trump's 100 days. Maybe I'll bring some people on from different sides of the political spectrum. I think that might be a fun show. Maybe we'll do that for like a bonus show or something like that next week. So let's talk about Trump's 100 days, though. Let's do a little report card, a little check up. We had like report cards. Did you have report cards and progress reports in school? Yeah, the progress report would come and it would kind of let you know like where you were at halfway through the quarter or semester or whatever and where you needed to get. And I didn't get the beatings until the report card would come. The progress report was like, this is the beating that's going to be coming. It might get me a little smack in the mouth talking to, but the beatings wouldn't come until the report card.
I got beatings with both of them.
Did you? Yeah. Well, see, you look Asian. So since you look Asian, did your parents still hit you for getting a B?
Yes, that's why I got straight A's.
Why not A+? Yeah, you look. I tell you guys all the time, she is more educated than me. That's not a lie. She went to a better school. She went to way more college than me. She is more educated than me. I tell you that on the show all the time. But okay, so let's get into Trump's report card here. Let's talk. I'm kidding about the beatings. That only happened like once or twice. Let's get into the accomplishments here. The pluses and minuses of Trump's first 100 days. I've got his accomplishments written down, and I'm not going to call them failures because he hasn't failed to do anything yet, but we're 100 days in, and it's like, okay, the clock is ticking. If we talk in a year and these things still haven't been completed, then maybe we might call them failures, right? So accomplishments, I've got illegal border crossings are essentially at zero. We covered this. There's a well-known shelter that illegal migrants would meet up at in San Diego. It closed its doors because it had no customers, or residents, I guess you could say. There was no need for it. Border crossings are at an all-time low for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're shipping the really bad people down to El Salvador where we don't have to deal with them anymore and they can't reoffend. Number two, word is spreading that we're not the country to come into illegally anymore. If you want to go somewhere illegally, the United States of America is not the place to do it because we will send you back to where you came from. We're actually enforcing the border. And the worst thing about this border thing, by far the worst thing about this border thing, is that they haven't changed any laws, which means that Biden could have done this at any point in time. Any point in time. Biden's old boss, Barack Obama, did do this. He was known as the deporter-in-chief. Biden could have shut the border down at the illegal entry points and made people come into the country legally at any point in time, and he didn't do it because it's the Cloward Piven strategy where they try to overflow the system in the United States, burn it to the ground, and rebuild it in their vision. That's what they do. He didn't do it. They had the authority and the ability and the resources to fix the crisis in less than 100 days, and they didn't do it. So that should tell you everything that you need to know about them. They kept saying, we need an act of Congress, we need an act of Congress, we need an act of Congress. They blamed Trump because that border bill got killed, that horrible border bill that had all this extra pork thrown in and wasteful spending and backdoor restrictions on other freedoms that had nothing to do with the border, and they threw Trump under the bus, or they blamed Trump, threw Congress under the bus, said, look, the Republicans are the reasons we can't do it. Trump comes in, you get no piece of legislation passed, and he fixes it in less than a month. They could have fixed it at any point in time. That was willful negligence on the Biden administration's part right there. Also, notice how we've stopped hearing about the so-called Maryland man that was deported. Well, as it turns out, his current wife or girlfriend or whatever she is, her baby daddy, ex-husband, in a custody dispute, filed a note to the court saying that her current boyfriend is a known gang member and the kids aren't safe around him. Now, that's what he claimed. That's not a definitive fact, but given that and the tattoo that she goes out of her way to cover up in Instagram photos and some of the other connections this guy has, one might be able to make the reasonable argument that they got this one wrong. This is called the drive-by news story. This is what they do. They just throw as much shit on the wall to see what sticks. It's a drive-by because they hit you with as many as they can, as quickly as they can, and they see what sticks. They thought this Maryland man thing was going to stick. Oops, looks like we might have gotten that one wrong. So now they pivoted over. They said, oh my God, did you hear that the Trump administration deported this 2-year-old girl? These monsters. Can you believe they deported this 2-year-old girl? Well, they deported the 2-year-old girl because both of her parents were in the country illegally and they got deported. Let me ask you, Mia, what do you think would be better if they just left the 2-year-old girl here? Well, what were they going to do with her? Leave her? They could leave her in Shree's lab with the dogs over there.
Just leave her to fend for herself.
Yeah, you better get a job. You better figure it out. No, and if they didn't deport her and they put her into the foster care system, which is what the Biden administration was doing when you had all these missing kids, we still don't know where a third of them are, probably in some human trafficking scheme, if you want me to be completely honest, they would have been screaming about humanitarian rights. Oh my God, can you believe this negligent administration lost this poor little girl? She's probably being sold into sex trafficking, these monsters. No, they sent her back with the parents, which is the right thing to do. Now, she was supposedly being treated for cancer. I don't know if that's the case or not. If that was the case and her parents were here for medical tourism, there's a proper channel to go through that with. If they didn't do it, that's on them. That's their own negligence that caused that. Again, this is what I'm talking about. This is the kind of we said this about the Kilmar Abrego Garcia thing. When people skirt the rules, because we have to know who's coming into this country. I'm sorry, we have to know. Otherwise, we turn into Europe, where it's being burned to the ground and you have rape gangs going around terrorizing people, and you go to jail if you report them. So we have to know who's coming into the country. And when people skirt by the rules and they're irresponsible and they're lazy or whatever the case may be, and they don't do everything they're supposed to, there is a domino effect. More people are hurt than just them. Their families are left in shambles because mom and dad didn't do the right thing. Mom and dad didn't follow the process like everybody else who comes into the country legally. They could have come here and gotten that treatment for her. They absolutely could have. I have no problem with that. From just a human and a Christian perspective, I have no problem if people want to come here to get medical care for their sick kids. But we have to know who's coming into the country, because the reality is, just like the terrorists over in the Middle East know that children are pretty much off limits, these drug cartels and these human traffickers and these gang members, they also know that we're less likely to fuck with kids. So they will come in, pretend to be the parents, use some excuse like that, and then operate their business illegally. So I have no problem if people want to come here to treat their kid for cancer. But we have to know who you are. We have to have screened who you are before you come into the country. Trade accomplishments. Not a lot in the trade, but we're going to put this as an accomplishment here. Apple announced that they plan to shift the assembly of iPhones destined for the U.S. market from China to India by the end of 2026. Huge blow to China. This is billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars that are going to be leaving their economy. And while India we're a little bit wishy-washy with, it's not near as bad as China. This is a massive win for the United States. I don't think the cost is going to go up all that much, if any. This is a big win for us. We get to keep the prices down and not fund an enemy of the country that wants to destroy the United States as we know it, that's actively engaging in a shadow war against us. So that's a massive win there. Another massive win is RFK has made some progress in terms of getting rid of the poison in what we eat. A lot of these red dyes are going to be banned. He's getting snack foods and soda off of food stamps. And just last week, Pepsi announced that it'll be removing all artificial ingredients from our food. All artificial ingredients. And this is before any mandates went into place. So here's the disturbing part about this to me. Pepsi knew this stuff was bad, and they always had the ability to remove it from the food and beverages. But they didn't do it. Someone just had to come in and say, hey, can you guys not do that? And that was all it took, and nobody even bothered. The politicians have just such an active disdain for us, such a just hatred, or at the very best case scenario, lack of fucks they give about us, that they allow this to go on. Nobody even thought to say, hey, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, could you not poison people by chance? You ever consider that? Just please, kind of like gentleman's agreement. Stop giving the population cancer and diabetes. Oh, well, you put it like that. I didn't realize we were doing anything wrong. Okay, yeah. That's all it took. Nobody ever even bothered to ask them. The mandate hasn't even gone into place. The next one I'll kind of put as a win. The JFK files sort of got released. It was convoluted and long. It was way after they initially said it was going to get released. We still haven't seen the RFK shooting files, the RFK senior shooting files. I'll kind of put this as a win. This is probably the only thing Pam Bondi has done right. We're going to get into her in a little bit. I guess we can call that one a win. The truflation rate, which is the inflation rate that's nonpartisan, it doesn't allow either administration to manipulate the data to their liking, has plummeted to 1.57%. The inflation rate in this country is half of what it was when Trump took office, way lower than it was under Biden. I mean, about an eighth of what it was under Biden. So that's a massive win. You've got egg prices are now cheaper than when he took office. We're finally getting over this bird flu thing and the Biden administration deciding to kill 100 million chickens right before they left office. Totally not sabotage there. Totally not. They tried this broad net approach. Here's my thing. They announced they were going to kill 100 million chickens to try to quell the bird flu. How did they pick the chickens? How did they even know it was going to be efficient? There's no way that this was intended to, there's no way they thought even for a split second that this was actually going to fight the bird flu. This was about sabotaging the next guy and giving their people a talking point about egg prices for a couple of months to hit him with. And then you notice the second that egg prices went down, when's the last time you've heard about egg prices other than on this show? But I keep reminding you of it because I don't let them control the narrative. Gas prices are also down. And while they haven't plummeted to the degree that egg prices have, when you consider inflation and everything, gas prices are about 10 cents lower than when he took office. So that's another win right there. So there's your accomplishments. The things I've got is to be determined. We still need to get this Ukraine-Russia thing set up. And I told you before the election, I told you after the election, and I told you after he took office, and then I told you again a couple of weeks ago. And I've told you every time this issue pops up in the news, he was setting himself up for failure by saying that he would have the deal done on Russia and Ukraine on day one. I told you he was setting himself up for failure. He was giving his opponent ammunition. Nobody expected you to have it done on day one. You made that promise. You walked into that trap. So that was his own fault there. The TikTok deal, chickens are coming to roost on that. I know they're talking about extending the moratorium on it, but we need to figure it out, man. There's going to be a lot of angry Zoomers if TikTok goes away right before the midterms. They will not forget it, okay? Israel-Palestine, again, we've had like 3 or 4 agreements on temporary ceasefires, and then both sides just start shooting at each other. As you all know where I stand on that, I'm of the mindset we should just leave it alone. You know, I saw a video on a Ring camera of 2 porch pirates fighting each other over an Amazon package, and when people ask me how I feel on Israel-Palestine, I just send them that video. I don't give a damn. Let them figure it out for themselves, you know? But, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not an option. He wants to get this worked out, and I understand why he wants to get it worked out from both a personal legacy perspective and a global geopolitical perspective. So you're going to make that promise. You need to actually get it done. That's not a promise I would have made, given how volatile that situation is. I would not have promised to close that Gaza deal out. I would have said, I'll do what I can. We'll put pressure on both sides. But as we know, that is a volatile part of the world. I always love when we hear about this, you know, the pro-Palestinian protesters, they'll go on and they'll say, oh, we need a ceasefire in Gaza now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. You guys, I'm saying this as a neutral party who really doesn't give a damn about that situation all that much. They had a ceasefire on October 6th. And Palestine broke it. So there was a ceasefire, courtesy of Donald Trump, in his first administration up until October 6th. And Palestine, Hamas, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones that violated it. On the day I got married, and then I'm on a plane finding out that terrorists are threatening to attack the United States and all. I'm like, oh, great. Now I'm in Denver on a layover because we're going to our honeymoon. We're on a layover going to California. And I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, how many Arabs are boarding my flight? And how many of them could I take if they have box cutters? Like, that's what's going through my mind right now, you know? Side note, Hamas will never attack the United States. I'm not saying some crazy radical won't do something stupid because he got radicalized on Instagram or whatever. Hamas as an organization will never sponsor a terrorist attack against the United States because they know the second they do, it is over. Specifically with Donald Trump as president. We're not going to do anything, but Donald Trump will say, okay, Israel, the leash is off. Turn the whole fucking country to glass. I don't want anything left standing. I want every last camel in Gaza to be fried in a nuclear fallout. Kill them all. I don't care. So they'll never do that. They may talk shit. They may make threats, but out of self-preservation, they will never attack the United States because the second they do, Donald Trump will turn Israel loose on them like a nut job pit bull, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. Tariffs, we'll see. I'm hearing a lot about all these deals, and that's why this is all. It's hard to judge anyone on their first 100 days, especially when we know that a lot of this stuff is going to take more than 100 days to accomplish and see the full effects of, whether they're positive or negative. I don't know. I'm putting tariffs in the question mark. Now, this last one here, there's no excuse. This is a failure. Even if we get it tomorrow, this is a failure, is the Epstein files. This is a disgrace, the way this administration has gone about the Epstein files. Kash Patel told us day one when he took over at the FBI, we were going to get those files. Again, totally unrealistic. There were minor victims, people whose identities needed to be protected. Thousands of pages. You were going to have to redact certain parts of that, not to cover up any type of conspiracy, but to protect the identity of certain victims. So never in a million years were they going to get the Epstein files on day one. Again, stupid, over-exaggerative promises that people can easily turn against you, just politically inept, in my opinion. But the way Pam Bondi has milked this situation for online clout is disgraceful. It is disgusting. Remember when she had, she's like, all right, we got the Epstein files. Then she made a big spectacle out of it, which she's done a lot. She goes on Fox News. Oh, I got another announcement. Oh, there's some people that are going to be real upset. You better tune in tomorrow at 9 a.m. Like they're trying to generate clicks to their Twitter pages. It's so gross. And it's about like human traffickers and drug dealers. And the worst of the worst, they're turning it into a game show. So this has been a massive failure, the way they've gone about this. Like I said, even if we get these tomorrow, I'm still going to be upset. To bring all these Twitter influencers in and give them binders that say Epstein files and tell them to slow roll it to their audiences in phases is just gross, given the gravity of that situation. That is a failure. That is something they should all be ashamed of. Okay, so now let's go into grades. Grades, and we'll get done with the lead topic here. Mia, what letter grade, would you give Trump for the first 100 days?
I go a C.
That's what I had. I had him for a C. It's a lot of stuff. But here's the thing. Another 100 days, this is how this stuff works. Like I said, a lot of this is going to take time to figure out whether or not it's a success or a failure. And we told you that going into this, that this wasn't all going to change overnight. There were people that were spiking the football thinking the day was going to be saved on day 10. Everything was going to go back to normal. We told you, not only did we tell you buckle up, we told you we might have a recession in the summer, given the way that GDP has grown and inflation and everything have grown these last couple of months. We told you before the election results came in that regardless of who's president, you're probably going to see a minor recession in the summer. And we did in the first quarter get a negative 0.3% GDP growth. Now, a recession, depending on who you ask, is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. So if the second quarter has negative growth again, which I don't know if it will, then we will technically be in a recession. Now, we did have negative GDP growth for 2 consecutive quarters under the Biden administration, but they went and changed the definition of a recession so that we couldn't label it one. Now, this negative GDP growth, with all the chaos you're hearing about how horrible the tariffs are for the economy and all the carnage that it's and the havoc that it's wreaking, it dropped 0.3%. Biden's dropped in his 2 consecutive quarters when we were in a recession under his administration, 0.6% and 2.2%. So far more. This is very, very minor. I don't think you're going to see mass layoffs or anything like that. Most of the layoffs have been of federal employees. and those people appeared as the unemployment rates really are, they're kind of staying stagnant. So you're not seeing, I think a lot of these people are finding jobs after they leave the federal workforce. It's not the chaos that a lot of people thought it was going to be. And as more jobs get brought back to the United States and more companies invest resources and money into the United States, there's going to be even more jobs here to go around. But this is a two-way street. It could all fall apart in 100 days, or it could all start to come together in 100 days. So this C could turn into an A or an F, depending on how the rest of the year goes. So it's still to be determined. JD Vance, I gave a B+. When you're the vice president, your job is not to go out and make deals. Your job is to kind of shadow the president, stay out of the way, and ace the PR tour. JD Vance has done a solid job at that. He hasn't been perfect. I really like the way he put Zelensky in his place. JD Vance is he's a hillbilly gangster. Okay, he's not your Mitt Romney, George Bush politician who's going to come in and bring a doily to a gunfight. JD Vance will go blow for blow with you. He's not going to take your bullshit, and he has no problem calling you out in front of the national media. And we saw that with Zelensky. We've seen that time and time again. He is a very, whether you like him or not, he is a very straight shooter. And in his role as vice president, which is basically just an understudy to Trump, setting himself up to be the guy in 2028, I think he's done a solid, not great, but solid job at that. Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, I give him a D+. A lot of the stuff Marco Rubio's worked out, like the Panama Canal deal, the Greenland stuff, the Ukraine, Russia. It's seemed like it was going to come together, then it's fallen apart. Marco Rubio, like I told you, I used to work in sales a long time ago. Marco Rubio was that salesman that couldn't keep a deal together. He'd sell them on the car, they'd love the car, and just couldn't close them when it came time to get him to sign for the price. For whatever reason, don't know if they didn't like him, don't know if they didn't like the car, don't know if they didn't like the numbers, don't know if they didn't like the dealership. Something about it. Marco Rubio cannot close a fucking... Marco Rubio couldn't close a door, is what it seems like right now. I do not think he's done a good job. Elon Musk. C. I'm not I know there's a lot of people on the right have a weird infatuation with Elon. I'm not one of them. I'm just not. I don't have a problem with the guy. I'm not one of these crazy leftists that's like setting fire to Teslas, obviously. I don't have a problem with the guy. He creeps me out. Doesn't he creep you out a little bit? Like, I'm sorry. I'm a little uncomfortable. I know you all think he's our guy and stuff like that, and I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm still a little uncomfortable about the idea of a technocracy, whether it's right wing or left wing. I don't like how much say these tech companies and people that work in that field want to have in the way our country's run. It bothers me a little bit, and it should irk you too. He might be the Antichrist. I'm not sure. But it should irk you too about this guy. This guy that, no one was a little put off that the guy who used to openly refer to himself as a socialist that wanted to put chips in all of our brains all of a sudden did a total 180 and now he's on our side. That doesn't bug you guys a little bit? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I seem to be the only one on the right that's going, let's pump the brakes on Elon. Let's keep him at a healthy, no, he's the guy. We know a guy like this. You want him on your side because you've seen what happens when he's not on your side. Maybe secondhand, but you've still seen what happens. But you don't want him too close to you because when he's too close to you, it gets a little weird, right? So you keep him at arm's length. That's what you need to do with Elon Musk. He just, something about him irks me. I don't know what it is. I don't trust him. I'll be straight with you. I don't trust him. I think he's done a great job identifying a lot of the waste in government. Another thing that bothers me, a pet peeve I have with him and with this administration as a whole, is they continue to use the words waste, fraud, and abuse. I completely agree on the waste. Abuse, we definitely have an argument for, and maybe there is some fraud. The problem is when you refer to it as fraud is a crime. If there are people committing fraud with taxpayer money, those people need to be arrested. And we haven't seen any arrests for it yet, not on a major scale at least. So if you're going to say you're identifying billions and billions of dollars worth of fraud, then we need to start seeing people go to jail. Otherwise, that means one of two things. You're blowing smoke out your ass, and there was no fraud, or you're not holding the people who are committing the fraud responsible, which makes you complicit in it. One of the two. So we got to stop saying waste, fraud, and abuse unless it's actual fraud. Now, I agree there's waste. There's a ton of waste. We broke a bunch of it down on this show. But that stuff was legitimately allocated, whether we like it or not. Now, whether how stupid we think it was, like a transgender Sesame Street puppet show in Iraq or whatever it was, completely ridiculous. We all agree on that. But that wasn't fraud. Now, if they said it was going to be a transgender puppet show in Iraq and then ship the money into, the head of USAID's Swiss bank account, that would be fraud. But if the money actually went to that, that's not fraud. It's just a stupid thing to spend our money on. It was legally allocated. The people responsible for it should be fired, but it's not fraud. Fraud is a crime. We just have to, we got to be careful with everything we say because they're going to put it under a microscope and overanalyze it and use it against us. You should know that when everyone's got the knives out, you think that these people know. Donald Trump goes on national television at least once a week and talks about how the whole media hates him and they're out to get him. You'd think that given the boss's rhetoric on the true reality, that the media is out to get you, they would all be a little bit more careful about how they word things. They would choose them a little bit more selectively. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., I'll give a B. Again, this B can go up. I'm a big fan of a lot of the stuff. Mia's mad because her Coke's going away. I told you the Mexican Cokes will still be there. I'm a big fan of a lot of what he's done with healthcare. I think there's still a whole long road ahead of us to go, but he's done a good job so far. I liked his autism speech. I know a lot of people freaked out, thought he was attacking their autistic kids. Guys, there's people like Elon Musk that are a little off socially, and then there's full-blown autistic kids that can never function and will never be able to live on their own, never be able to have jobs. Those are the people he's talking about. And people were upset that he had the nerve and the audacity to come on there.
Autism.
He had the audacity to go on there and say, hey, don't we want to know what the cause of this is? Don't we want to know why autism is at an all-time high right now? Don't you think we should try to figure out what's going on so we can prevent this? He's not talking about your kid that's a little off and is really smart. He's talking about the people that are non-functional. I don't like, though, how he's used his role as Secretary of Health and Human Services to kind of cheerlead for Israel. I think that's a little weird. I wonder what they have on him sometimes. Given the alleged Epstein connections, given the potential that Epstein was a Mossad agent, and I think that's what they're hiding on these Epstein files, I wonder what dirt Israel has on him. Pete Hegseth, I'm going to give a C. I think he's gotten a bad rap. I haven't really seen a whole lot. Again, a little too hawkish on the whole Iran thing for my liking, but he hasn't done a horrific job. It seems like military recruitment's up. They've done right by the people that got screwed over. I would like to see them make a little bit more progress on this burn pit issue, which has been DOA under Biden. They actually had progress under the Trump administration. I would like to see them get this resolved specifically for the Desert Storm vets. Write your congressman on that one if you haven't already. It takes you 5 seconds. There are generic emails you can copy and paste and send them. That's a serious issue that we need to get resolved. I don't blame him entirely for the Signal group chat thing. That's a guy who we're going to talk about in a minute, so I'm not going to give him a bad grade. Kash Patel, D+. D+. You're hearing about a lot of shitbags in the FBI getting let go, which is a good thing, and that's what keeps me from giving him an even lower grade. I'm going to give him a D+. Because, again, we were told we were going to have these Epstein files and these JFK files day one. It's day 100. We still don't have them. D+. Mike Waltz, the national security consultant, F. This is the one that added the journalist to the Signal chat. So this guy is, at best, an incompetent buffoon who has no business being employed in this administration, or even at Wendy's, for that matter, and at worst, compromised. Because there are evidently, so get this, this guy, allegedly, his Venmo account is public. This isn't alleged. This is true. So his Venmo account is public. Yeah, this guy who added the journalist to the Signal group chat about the strike on the Houthis. He's getting payments coming in to his Venmo account from journalists, from news networks all over the country. So it's like, I don't know, maybe they're all in a fantasy football pool together or something. Or maybe they're buying information from him. The fact that this guy still has a job disturbs me greatly. Pam Bondi, F minus. F minus. I already made my discrepancies with that stupid bitch clear. I don't like the attorney general. I don't like the way she's behaved herself. I was skeptical of her when they announced that she was coming. I wasn't a big fan of Matt Gaetz either, for that matter. But I certainly wasn't a big fan of this establishment hack that helped the COVID administration advance its agenda back in 2020, even though it was stopped in that state of Florida by Ron DeSantis. So she gets an F minus, the bottom of the barrel. I wish I could give her a G for get the fuck out of here and find a new job, you stupid bitch. Tulsi Gabbard, B, a little disappointed. Wish I could have given her an A. She's done a great job at removing the security clearances of a lot of people that had no business having it in the first place. They've seemed to have cleaned house over there in a lot of these in a lot of these intelligence agencies. But again, Tulsi Gabbard has made her whole... Here's what irks me about Tulsi Gabbard. There was... when they did that strike on the Houthis that got leaked, and all the texts got leaked, Tulsi Gabbard has made her career being an anti-war politician, right? Anti-foreign intervention. And she's in this group chat celebrating that they blew up an entire apartment building to kill one guy. That bugs me a little bit. You didn't even suggest that, hey, maybe this isn't a good idea. You know, maybe our rhetoric in Europe about non-interventionalism, like J.D. Vance actually had the balls to come in and say, isn't all that great? Is kind of going to get contradicted if we're shooting missiles at apartment buildings, killing hundreds of people to get one guy. Because that was the thing. They followed this guy to his girlfriend's apartment and blew up an entire building, killed hundreds of people, and they're just celebrating it. I mean, I wonder when I see this, and they're all of them were in this group chat. Vance, Hegseth, Waltz, all of them. When I see a Gabbard, when I see shit like this, I'm like, you guys go out in front of the media and claim to be Christians, right? It's one thing to kill someone in an act of war, and I get it, there's collateral damage. But the way they were celebrating that, all of them, it was like their favorite football team just scored. And they had no regard for what they had just done. It's like, do you guys, are you just so deep into this that you forget these are human lives we're dealing with? Or do you guys not actually believe that there's consequences for the things we did here on Earth when we get to the next level? I'd just like to ask them that. Christy Noem, I'm going to give a D. Not a big fan of hers. When they hired her, I think she's a ditzy moron. I don't like the dog thing about her, but that's not why I'm giving her the grade. I'm giving her the grade because of the way she has cheerled on the real ID, which they're going to use to track us and enforce all types of tyranny and will inevitably be abused the second the Democrats, or any establishment Republican for that matter, reclaim power. Last one, Tom Homan, the borders are A+. The guy has aced it. By far the best performer on this administration. By far. A+ for Tom Homan. They've gotten it figured out. A++ bonus points there. He's over 100% right now for bringing Dr. Phil on the tour with him. A++ for Tom Homan. That's been our lead topic. Stay tuned for Store Brand.